Tonight on The Best Times, we'll explore a nursing home revolution called the Greenhouse Project. You'll meet Reverend Lisa Anderson, who gives the homeless a room in the inn. And we'll spend a day with Bentley, the therapy dog. Funding for The Best Times is provided by the Plow Foundation, striving to do the greatest good by helping the greatest number of people since 1964. Additional funding is provided by the members of WKNO. Thank you. Hello, I'm Chris Hardaway. Welcome to this edition of The Best Times, a series that looks at life after 50. The U.S. Census Bureau reports that just over 5% of Americans 65 plus live in a nursing home or assisted living environment. With 78 million baby boomers aging, that means nearly 4 million people will be living in nursing homes in the future. In fact, there is about a 1 in 4 chance that you will need some sort of skilled nursing care in your lifetime. Most of us aren't prepared for that future, but are today's nursing homes prepared, or do they need a makeover? One doctor thought it was time to wipe the slate clean and start over again. Tonight on The Best Times, we examine the nursing home revolution he started. It's called the Greenhouse Project. This is the view inside almost any nursing home. A long corridor with rows of semi-private and private rooms. The daily schedule is regimented. The institutionalized atmosphere conveys the sterility of a hospital. Dr. Bill Thomas, a geriatrician from upstate New York, worked in this sort of environment and felt the time had come for a change. He developed a radical idea: abolish the nursing home.
Let's take a clean slate, and what can we do to make this not, this institution not institutional? And so he came up with the greenhouse homes, and by bringing residents together in a smaller cottage-like setting, it really brings them to life. They get to know each other, the families get to know a smaller group of people, and more importantly, the staff, our Shabazz, in dealing with the residents, they get to know each other better. And that makes for a very communal type of situation that benefits both the staff and our elders.
The first greenhouse project was built in 2004 by Methodist Senior Services in Tupelo, Mississippi. Today, there are 185 greenhouse homes in 28 states. One such site is Ave Maria Home in Bartlett. In 2005, they were looking to add more beds to their traditional facility, but a trip to Tupelo changed their minds.
And when we saw these, we were like, why would we want to just make another institution? This gives the residents so much more privacy, dignity, and self-determination than anything that we could build.
Ave Maria opened their greenhouse homes in 2012. There are 4 freestanding cottages housing 10 residents each. No long corridors, no institutional environment. 10 individual rooms open onto a communal area, creating a home-like atmosphere.
From a physical standpoint, there's a den, a living room, individual, resident rooms, and the great convivium that happens at dining during the dining times. That is what is so important, is that the residents get to be together and talk about things during the day. This, are things that have happened or will happen, and there's a great sense of community in a smaller atmosphere.
In keeping with the home-like atmosphere, Daily life in a greenhouse is marked by freedom of choice.
If I was living here, my day would start with when I want to get up and have breakfast. In the institutional model, everyone's going to get up between a certain time, 6:30 and 8, where if I want to sleep in, when I'm 90, I think I'm going to want to sleep in. So you get up when you want to, you have breakfast when you want to. I can read the paper, I can take my time, plan my day. If there's something I want to do at 10 o'clock or 11, fine. If there's not, I've got a book to read, or I can, participate in something, in an activity that's available if I want to. So the day structure is very different. It's on your time. It's not on the provider's time, or it's not on the facility's time. And that's, to me, the biggest advantage to this whole concept.
The greenhouse model also changes the operational functions of traditional nursing homes. Each home is staffed by 10 to 13 certified nursing assistants that are called Shabazz in greenhouse terminology. One nurse oversees 2 homes.
The staffing pattern is so much higher with our greenhouse homes than in a regular institutional facility.
The Shabazz functions differently than their CNA counterparts in traditional nursing homes. In addition to the usual functions of assisting the elders with all the activities of daily living, the Shabazz also cooks all of the daily meals, washes the elders' clothes, and performs light cleaning chores. If one of the elders wants a midnight snack, the Shabazz is there to serve them. This level of care creates a bond between the residents and the staff.
You have more time to spend with the residents, yes, so you learn more about them and they learn more about you. It's more one-on-one care.
A 2007 study published in the Journal of the American Geriatric Society concluded that greenhouses were a promising model to improve quality of life for nursing home residents. But does this highly personal care and home-like environment come at a high price? Studies have shown the cost of greenhouse homes matches the median for nursing homes nationally. Ave Maria accepts both Medicare and Medicaid, as well as private pay for their greenhouse residents. Management at Ave Maria have been so impressed with the results of their greenhouse experiment that they will be breaking ground to add 5 more homes with 12 residents each. Their traditional nursing facility will cease to exist.
We've given our elders a chance to live again, and in a way that if they need help, it's there, but it's not overpowering, if that makes sense. It's more of a empowering them to live again in a way that they may have been used to in the community, and this kind of, the greenhouse kind of helps them blossom.
Jean Morgan has been living in her greenhouse home for several months now. She told me that her surroundings made her feel comfortable, like she was back in her college dormitory again.
It's a place to come and live. I mean, to make it home. You know, you refer to it, this is my home now.
Like any major city in America, Memphis has a homeless problem. On any given day in the winter, there may be upwards of 2,000 homeless people on our streets. On these cold winter nights, they seek shelter wherever they can find it, beneath an underpass, behind a building, or out in the open in a city park. They are a community that lives in the shadows of the city. A half a dozen years ago, Colonial Cumberland Presbyterian Church decided to open the doors to their sanctuary to shelter the homeless in a ministry called A Room in the Inn. I'd like you to meet the innkeeper, Reverend Lisa Anderson. On a chilly Tuesday night in February, a group of homeless people gather at a downtown building called the Carpenter's House. They are seeking shelter for the night. Some will be chosen, some may have to be turned away because of lack of space. Reverend Lisa Anderson spots a familiar face and catches up on the latest news. Someone has found a job. Another person has found a permanent place to live. Rays of hope on a cold winter's night. Ministering to the homeless wasn't necessarily in Reverend Anderson's career plans, but becoming a minister was almost a foregone conclusion in her family.
My dad was a Cumberland Presbyterian pastor, so he pastored churches right around the Birmingham area. Well, my mom was a great pastor's wife. Most of her life, she took care of us and did church work along with my father. You know, in many ways, she was probably my first role model for women in ministry.
Lisa's husband is Reverend Barry Anderson, Director of Admissions and Student Services at Memphis Theological Seminary. In the 90s, Lisa felt the call to follow in her father's footsteps and began her studies at MTS. After graduation, she became a chaplain, first at St. Joseph's Hospital, then at St. Jude.
I love chaplaincy. I knew right away when I first went into a hospital to work as a student that it was something that I felt at home with, being with people who were struggling with illnesses and, you know, suffering in general. Certainly there were challenges to my faith, and I think even that was something that I enjoyed, being in a place that allowed me to struggle with people as they were having those struggles with faith and an understanding of where God is in that suffering. I loved it. I loved every minute of my chaplaincy time.
In 2005, she became the pastor at Colonial Cumberland Presbyterian Church.
I went there as an interim for them, a small congregation that was exploring what direction they should go in as their numbers declined, as most urban congregations have. And I was working full-time as a chaplain at St. Jude Children's Research Hospital at the time, and I loved to lead worship and be involved with the congregation. And so went there as an interim, and we began to explore ways that congregation could continue to do ministry in the neighborhood.
A half a dozen years ago, Reverend Anderson discovered a unique ministry founded in Nashville by Father Charles Strobel of the Holy Name Catholic Church. 30 years ago, he began feeding peanut butter and jelly sandwiches to the homeless who had gathered in the church parking lot.
Father Charlie invited someone in to sleep inside one night when it was bitterly cold, and he just felt like it was wrong to leave the doors locked and have people on the other side of it out in the cold. And that was the beginning, and he began to welcome people into that church, and at the end of that winter started to invite others around him, his fellow priests, people that he knew well, saying, you know, there's a need that could be met by congregations. And so that began 30 years ago, and this year they have, you know, almost 290 congregations.
The concept of room in the inn was born, and Reverend Anderson heard God calling.
We hear God's calling in different places, and I think that's what began to happen with me, is my church began to do outreach with homeless people and people in the neighborhood who were experiencing poverty, and I began to see those needs in a different way, and more hear God saying, you know, there are needs, and feeling a pull toward that kind of ministry.
About 25 churches in the Memphis area participate in Room in the Inn. From November through March, these congregations will offer a hot meal and a warm bed. Some churches have shower facilities and a clothes closet. On this Tuesday night, the innkeepers are from Reverend Anderson's own church. Instead of writing a check to charity, they are addressing the problem of homelessness in a very personal way. And their experiences here put a face on what is often a faceless problem in our society.
We've seen people stay at Room in the Inn who are 18, and then we have one gentleman who stays with us who is 75. We've also sheltered some families, which is very disturbing that there are people with children who are living on the streets of Memphis. The number of people who have health conditions that are a result of living on the street is just enormous. The average lifespan of someone who is chronically homeless is 45. So people don't live to be elderly if they are chronically homeless and living on the street every day of their life. But most people who are homeless for a very short period of time. They've had a loss of a job or a change in a family situation, and so they're homeless for a brief period of time until they can figure out how to get back on their feet.
The interaction between the guests and the innkeepers also dispels some of the myths and stereotypes about homeless people. That they're lazy, they don't want to work, or they choose to be on the street.
That homeless people want to be homeless. I think that may be my favorite myth, that, almost every time I speak to someone who's new to what we're doing, they'll say that. Well, there are some people who just want to be homeless. And I think there are some people who have given up the idea that there's any other way to be, but I'm not sure that there's anybody I've met that wants to live on the street. Many people that we serve in Room in the Inn are hardworking people who go to minimum wage jobs every day after they sleep in our churches, but never can catch up enough to have what they need to be sheltered. I've met people who have PhDs, who had a nervous breakdown and ended up having issues for a long period of time where they couldn't work, lost connection with their family. People who are extremely talented, writers and musicians, and so these people have stories that are bigger than homelessness. It's bigger than the label that they get placed on them.
On this winter night, about a dozen people will be sheltered from the cold. Just a handful, really, when you consider the size of the homeless population in Memphis. But as Reverend Anderson says, opening our doors and our hearts is what matters. And she passes on this simple bit of wisdom.
You get what you need for today, and then God gives you what you need for tomorrow. But you take what God gives you today. And I think that's what I've learned working with this community. There has been some beauty in opening up what we call a sanctuary to people who need sanctuary.
There are about 70 to 80 million dogs in America that live in our households as pets. We make them a part of our families, and we wouldn't part with them for any reason. But sadly, the day you enter a nursing home or an assisted living center is the day you have to leave your beloved pet behind. Fortunately, these facilities have realized the therapeutic benefit that animals can provide, and organizations like Mid-South Therapy Dogs and Friends brings animals and their handlers into dozens of retirement facilities across the area. And today is Bentley's day out. On On a Wednesday morning, Bentley and his handler, Dee Davis, are walking down the hallway of the assisted living unit at the Village at Germantown. They're going to pay a visit to some of Bentley's admiring fans.
When a dog walks in, the environment changes. There's just something about that connection. It instantly brings smiles to everybody's faces every single time we do it.
Bentley has been bringing smiles to faces for about a year now as one of the therapy teams at Mid-South Therapy Dogs and Friends, a volunteer organization devoted to providing animal-assisted therapy to facilities ranging from nursing homes and assisted living facilities to schools and hospitals. The benefits of therapy animals are so tangible that they're often referred to as furry physicians.
The people that interact with animals, it's been shown that their heart rate drops, their blood pressure drops. The animals are just not judgmental at all. And so it's that unconditional love that they provide during their visit that just makes somebody have a smile on their face.
It also gives our clients that we interact with a sense of hope and a sense of normal. There have been many studies that do show that the power of the animal bond with the human does speed up the healing process.
The emotional and physical impact of therapy animals is so effective that Paige Robbins Adult Daycare Center's executive director decided to train her dog, Daisy, to become a therapy dog in residence.
When a client becomes anxious or when somebody needs an extra little bit of something that a puzzle or a song just can't convey, that there's something for them to be responsible for, to interact with other than a person. Sometimes they need that break with, and that an animal can provide. Animals are non-judgmental. They don't care if they've told the same story over and over. And so it works well to have a pet here. So we got Daisy just for that purpose, to be able to do that.
Animals and their handlers are required to go through a training period lasting an average of 6 months. Basic obedience skills are mandatory, and special emphasis is given to interacting with large groups and dealing with foreign environments, such as hospitals.
Really, it takes a dog that's trainable, and it also takes a dog that has the right temperament, which would be calm, a dog that is obedient, a dog that is dependable and predictable. Dogs can be taught, but it also is teaching the other end of the leash, which would be me, the handler.
After training is complete, animals and handlers must pass an evaluation before being certified to work as therapy teams. It is a considerable investment of time and money on the part of the animals and their owners, but the rewards are worth it.
Bentley is a very good therapy animal because he loves his job. He knows that he's working. He gets into the work mode very easily. He interacts really well with our clients. He's calm, he's predictable, he's very dependable, and he was easy to train. He loves what he does.
It's easy to see the smiles on faces and understand what people get from a visit by therapy animals. But what about the animals themselves?
He enjoys the visits. He loves the connection with people. As you saw, he kept offering his hand to the residents here. He loves the connection. He looks forward to it. When I get his little bandana out, he gets very excited. He can't wait to get in the car and go on visits. So definitely, he gets a lot out of it because he likes to make people smile.
Anyone who has ever owned a pet of any kind has experienced the invisible bond that exists between animals and humans. Medical science may be able to quantify this interaction by measuring blood pressure and stress levels, but it will never be able to measure the value of the smiles, the memories, and the way soft fur feels on the palm of your hand.
I think that animals give us something that we long for within ourselves. I feel like the connection with our animals it's magical. If you've ever owned an animal, you know it. They're part of your family. And I believe when our clients interact with our animal, be it a dog, a llama, or our donkeys, there's just a feedback that they can't get from another human. It's unconditional love, and it's non-judgmental. And I think that is really the positive energy behind that bond. Not all medicine comes in a bottle, and Bentley is a great example of that.
Want more information about life after 50? Go online to watch more shows and find more resources. And send us your feedback and story ideas to besttimes@wkno.org. That's all for this edition of The Best Times. Please join us next week for more stories about life after 50. Until then, I'm Chris Hardaway. Thanks for watching. Good night. Funding for The Best Times is provided by the Plow Foundation, striving to do the greatest good by helping the greatest number of people since 1964. Additional funding is provided by the members of WKNO. Thank you.